gotta love one another. Think of the future and all you're hoping for. Be nice to each other, Mr. and Mrs. You gotta love one another.
How long have you and David been together?
We're saying 38 years. This is about right.
38 years.
Exactly?
Yeah, near enough.
How did you first meet them?
Right. I was married and my husband worked as a doorman, as a bouncer for a nightclub in the Potteries.
Right.
And David used to do the bouncing at the same club, but David drove buses at that time, so he could only do it part-time, whereas my husband used to do it full-time. But they knew each other.
All right.
And David had heard about me through Terry, my ex, and managed to get an invite to come round for a cup of tea, and that's how he met me. I didn't like him to start with. His eyes would follow me around the room. It used to make me feel really uncomfortable. But he liked me, so he came back again for another cup of tea another time. He went back to his brother and said, I've met the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Even before I even knew all this.
So you were sure even back then?
He knew back then, yes. It took me a while. But then my ex ended up in prison, and David came to see me the next day after the trial to make sure I hadn't put my head in the gas oven. And I said, I haven't met a man that I would do that for. So, and then he stayed in contact with me.
Her first husband, we lived in Stoke-on-Trent, and in Stoke-on-Trent there's a famous nightclub called Jolly's, where the World Match Play darts used to come from and the boxing used to come from. And Sandy's first husband and myself used to be the security team. We used to be called D7 Total Security, and there were 7 of us were a team at Jolly's. We never had any problem. The only time we had to throw anyone out was if Bernard Manning came.
All right.
Because he wound all the coloured people up and all the Chinese up and everybody who was different. He'd wind up and then there'd be fights and we'd have to ask a few to leave. But then Sandy and her husband fell out, but that's how I knew Sandy. So I knew Sandy for a few years before.
Okay. So you touched on it briefly, but when you first seen David, what was your first impression of him then?
I wasn't too keen on him, really. I didn't really like him.
Shifty.
Yeah, I think because I don't like it when guests are here, when they follow me, their eyes follow me around the room. It makes me feel really uncomfortable. You get a lot of ex-policemen, and they will sit with their back to the wall, like I do the same if I go anywhere. I like to see the room, but they just follow everything, they watch everything. And when you're being watched, you feel like his eyes are boring into you. And David used to do exactly the same.
What were your first impressions of Sandy when you first seen her? Cast your mind back to when you first met her.
Sandy was scared of me. She would sit in the corner. I know you don't look at her now and think that, but she was very timid before I took her on. If that's the right way of putting it.
Before she took you on?
You know, she decided to take me on, but she was scared of me. She thought I was a big roughy tufty, which I was then. I was 6'4" with a 60-inch chest and big muscles, you know, and I was a scary individual. But I wore her down eventually.
So what was your first date? Do you remember what your first date was?
I think we went out for a drink. Because I was married and David was also married at the time, so we didn't want to meet up with anybody that we knew. So we would go and find somewhere away from the area and go and
Somewhere
have a drink
quiet.
somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Sandy and her husband had a flat, and when he left, I used to go around the flat with an old BBC computer, and we used to lay on the floor of the sitting room, and I'd play games. We'd play games to what back then was bat and balls and chess and things like that, and that was our first dates. Was that we never actually had a first date when we went out.
Okay, so once you did get together, and you decided to get together, did you end up using pet names for each other?
No.
You never had pet names?
I've never called David anything but David.
Really?
If I'm angry
Because
with
he had pet names for you?
you call me Squidgy sometimes, Sanders rather than Sandy, but no, not really. No, we're not that sort of couple, really.
Yes. Yes, Sandy's got a variety of names. Sanders is usually, if I want to call her, Pigeon, Sugar Lumps. Yeah, there's quite a few different names over the time that we call. I don't know whether she's got any pet names for me, but I'm always David if I'm being.
Bet we'll find out. What ways are you most alike, do you think?
Which ways are we most alike? I don't know. That is a hard question. I can't think of anything at all. Which way are we alike?
Will you wait till you hear what David said?
Yeah, he'll probably be right as well. He knows me better than I think, and I know him.
We're most alike because we're both individuals. We don't try and do a lot of things together. We're, like I said before, we're like two individual people living together. I think when you live together and work together, we've worked together for over 35 years probably. Yeah, nearly 40 years together. And I think if you're the same, you run out of things to say, so you drift apart. We're actually two different people. My hobbies are separate than Sandy's hobbies. My friends are separate than Sandy's.
So you're alike because you're not alike.
That's right, yeah. And I think that creates interest. She tells me about her life, I tell her about mine. Sometimes neither of us are interested in each other, but it's something to talk about. So we've got interest in each other by being dissimilar.
What ways are you most different?
He's slower. I mean, if we're doing something on the computer, for instance, I know what I'm doing and where I'm going or where I want the mouse to be, and I'm like that, get on with it. Whereas he messes about before he actually gets the mouse to where it needs to be, and I'm going, it's over there, why aren't we going straight there? That's where it is. And he's quite slow in that respect. But on the other hand, whereas I do something and I don't really think about it, I just do it, he thinks about it so that he doesn't make mistakes, he gets it done right to start with, whereas I might go wrong because I'm...
Most dissimilar in what we eat. Sandy eats for a regiment. I don't eat very much at all. Sandy likes sweet things. I don't like sweet things. I don't like chocolates and sweets and cakes. Sandy always has chocolate, sweets and cakes. So probably in what we eat is our most dissimilar. If Sandy's not here for a meal, then I don't need to have a pot noodle or something.
If you was to have an argument, who would win?
Most of the time David's right and I'm usually wrong, but when I am right, I will push it and say, well, I was right then, wasn't I? I was right, no, you better say I was right then. But we don't tend to disagree very much.
No?
No. I can't remember whether we've ever had an argument. They say that you do, but I can't remember us ever having an argument.
Sandy would, because I'd give in. Sandy would win because Sandy's way of winning is to just leave me alone. And then towards the end of the night, I'd go and do something for her. Give her a kiss.
So what would you say annoys you most about David?
I think at the moment, if we're going out somewhere and they want me to be ready by a certain time, so I'll give me a time. So I'm all right if I've got a time, I can be ready by that time. But then I'm ready and he isn't. And I think, well, why give me a time if you're not going to be ready? Or if he said, or if I say, are you ready to do this? Yes. And then he doesn't get up and move. He's trying to finish something off first. Well, why say yes if you're not ready?
But that's a very interesting reply.
Oh, good.
What do you think Sandy would say is most annoying thing about you?
Being logical, I think. I've got no empathy and no emotion, I tell you.
What annoys you most about Sandy?
Timekeeping, probably.
Well, she's not very good at timekeeping.
She's not very good at... She doesn't prepare and she's not very good at timekeeping.
If we're going out somewhere and they want me to be ready by a certain time, so I'll give me a time. So I'm all right if I've got a time, I can be ready by that time. But then I'm ready and he isn't.
Me, if I'm going to do something, the day before, when I've got plenty of time, everything's in one place, either in the van if I'm taking the van, or in one place, to take with me when I go the following day. Like today, we had to come back for her roses because it wasn't with her bag and everything else. So that, it's not annoying, but it's something I have to take into consideration when she says, oh, how long will it take us to get there? I always have to add on 10 minutes or a quarter of an hour.
Plan ahead.
Plan ahead, yeah.
What would you say he says is most annoying about you?
What did he say? There was something the other day and I can't remember what it was now. Probably I'm quite organised, but I'm not as organised as he thinks I should be. For instance, if I'm going somewhere and I need to take this and this with me, I haven't already got it sorted out and in little piles I can just pick it up and go. I'm doing all that about 5 minutes before I walk out the door. And then we go, like the rose, for instance. We had to come back and get that because I hadn't picked it up. He said, I thought you were ready. And I got ready before David today. So it should have been there. So I think that's probably what would irritate him.
So what would you say is his most endearing feature?
Probably his brain. Keeps his hands nice. I like nice fingernails. Don't like big dumb fingernails. I think, I don't know. I like the way he thinks. He's a one-off.
So,
I've never met anybody like him. The way he thinks.
No.
And I think his brain and the way he thinks. When we got together, for instance, and I had problems with the ex and everything, David didn't tell me what to do. I'm very black and white. I'm very focused that there's no roads going off. This is the road I'm on and this is what I'm going to do. And that's what I do. Whereas David can point out, well, you could do this instead or you could do that instead. And I don't think of the alternatives. So when I have the problems going on, he would say, well, you could do this, or why don't you do this? He gave me suggestions. He never tells me what to do. He just guides me different ways.
And what will she say is your most endearing feature? Ooh, difficult one.
I don't think I've got one really.
I'm sure you must have.
No, I don't know what she'd say to that. She must like me for a reason, but being a man possibly. She doesn't like. She's got this thing about following or being followed. She likes to walk beside you. She doesn't like to always be in charge, and she doesn't like always to be following.
What would you say is her most endearing feature?
The way she looks after me, I think, and the way she looks after the house. When I get up early in the morning to do breakfast, I know everything is going to be in the right place, because before she comes to bed, she's put everything in the right place. So it makes my job easier. Well, like clothes, everything's washed and ironed and put back in the drawers or on the pile from where so if I want a clean pair of trousers, underwear, or this blue jumper, she won't let me wear it unless it's something special. So I know that when I go to it, it'll be there and washed and done. So she's a very good internal housekeeper. She's very good at looking after me.
What do you think he would think your most endearing feature is?
I have absolutely no idea.
No
I'd be
idea.
very interested in what that answer's going to be.
If there's one thing you could change about David, if you had the power of God, what would that be?
I can't think of anything, to be honest.
No?
No, which makes it sound like he's perfect. But who is perfect? None of us are we really?
No. Thank God for that.
He's done very well that he's put up with me, because I'm not the easiest person to be with. And I think because I had problems with the previous one, you bring that to the new relationship,
Sure.
and you think the next one's going to be the same. So the fact that I doubted him sometimes, or he tells me, if I go and ask him a question, he gives me an answer, I go on Google and look it up, and I say, well, you don't trust me. And I think that's probably the part about me that he finds more irritating.
If there's anything Sandy could change about you, what do you think that would be?
I don't know, if she could wave a magic wand, I think she'd get rid of all my old age ailments, possibly. But other than that, I can't think of any. I don't think I've got any particularly annoying habits she'd want to get rid of.
So having talked about all that then, if you had the power of God and you could change and you could change any one thing about Sandy, what would it be?
But her fetish with cheese is, I think, part of the problem. She'd have cheese and custard if I'd let her.
If there was one thing he could change about you, what do you think that would be?
I suppose to believe in him more. That's what I can think of, I don't know. You don't know, do you? It's
No.
very difficult to say, like if somebody says, well, what are your good features? You don't know what that answer is. You have to ask other people what it is.
Sure,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one.
And finally,
Yeah, go on.
This
If
is
you
the
said
biggie.
This isn't quite what
This
you
is
thought
the
it
biggie.
was. Yeah.
can you tell us a little secret about David?
Isn't quite. Don't think.
So David's an open book.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Unless there's things he knows I don't know. I mean,
Well, they really are.
we both had lives before we met
Of
each
course.
other, so to me, whatever happened before me was in the past has nothing to do with me, you know what I mean? Yeah, I know.
And finally, can you tell us a little secret about Sandy?
A secret about Sandy. I don't think we've got any. I don't think we've got any, but if you want a way to a heart, it's to buy her a lump of cheese, that's for sure.
Oh, she's a cheese girl.
Oh, she's a cheese girl. She doesn't mind whether it's blue, pink, yellow. The only one she doesn't like is the orange cheeses, the Leicesters, the red Leicesters. But anything else, anything with cheese in, cheese crisps, cheese puffs, cheese straws, lumps of cheese, cheese sandwiches, anything with cheese in, you'll be a friend forever.
Amazing, thank you.
So my name's Kerry, so I'll just be preparing everything for you and recording the civil partnership today. And a very warm welcome to you all. It's a very warm office as well. So I'll be asking you to sign 2 copies, just so we've got one. So give you one each. So with the declaration, you have a choice. So you can either read it to yourself or you can read it to each other. Yes, absolutely.
I declare that I know of no legal reason why we may not register as each other's civil partner. I understand that on signing this document we will be forming a civil partnership with each other.
Yes. First of all, just have a look. The questions that I've just asked you now, just make sure that everything is correct and that you're happy that everything is correct there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you can then, Sandra first, please. If you can sign there for me. While you've got the pen in your hand. Please.
Turn it in flat, that's it.
Lovely, thank you. And then can you set David in this box here, please? Lovely, thank you. And then now if I can ask you two, please. So if you can, I know it's not very big, but if you can just print your name and then sign next to it. Okay. In that box, and then yourself. Okay. Please, if that's all right. Sorry, am I doing it on the second one as well?
Oh, right. Double do it.
This is it. You don't often see proper pens these
I was
days,
going to
do
say,
you?
yeah, I learned to write with a pen like that.
Well, I bet most teenagers wouldn't know what that is.
Probably not. friendship with each other.
Is that it?
That is it, I said.
Got a surprise for you.
Sandy's.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
How do you know it fits? How do you know if it fits?
There's ways you can tell it.
That's a perfect fit.
I'm not sure what it was.
It's done. There we are.
She didn't know anything about it.
That's beautiful. Congratulations.
Hey, congratulations. How does it feel?
Oh, different.
Why does it feel different?
Heavier. Got silver ring.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, I have the honour, and I mean that sincerely, of standing here today, or sitting here, as David's best man. David is an experienced radio ham who has no problems making radio connections all over the world. I mean, he has radios that can communicate to space. But when it comes to his phone, he struggles to answer the thing. On a more serious note, I have known David for quite a while, and Sandy. And let me tell you, his passion for radio is only matched for his passion for Sandy. But in all seriousness, I've never seen him so lit up, so excited, so joyful as he was today, standing next to the love of his life. But one thing I will share is how much I admire David for his loyalty, his dedication and his incredible patience. If there's one thing Sandy will never have to worry about, is that David will always be there for her, no matter what. He'll be tuned in, locked in, and never drop the signal. And Sandy, you have certainly found someone who will always listen to you, even when you're talking about things like weather, new dresses, etc. But I'm sure it will be just as exciting to him as the most interesting radio chatters. So if we could all raise a glass to this wonderful couple, here's to love, to the adventure of marriage, and to the strong unwavering signal that David and Sandy have found in each other. May you always stay connected and keep the transmission of love going strong. To the bride and groom.
Thank you.